King Bhumibol Adulyadej of Thailand dies at 88, reigned 70 years. King Bhumibol Adulyadej is followed by Queen Sirikit, second from left, and Princess Maha Chakri Dynasty, left, as he leaves a hospital in 2011. King Bhumibol Adulyadej of Thailand, who took the throne of the kingdom once known as Siam shortly after World War II and held it for more than 70 years, establishing himself as a revered personification of Thai nationhood, died on Thursday in Bangkok. He was 88 and one of the longest reigning monarchs in history. The royal palace said he died at Siriraj hospital but gave no further details. King Bhumibol was a unifying figure in a deeply polarized country, and his death cast a pall of uncertainty across Thailand, raising questions about the future of the monarchy itself. The military junta, which seized power in a coup 2 years ago, derives its authority from the king, but the king's heir apparent, Crown Prince Vajiralongkorn, seen by many as a jet-setting playboy, is not held in the same regard as his father. King Bhumibol spent most of his final years in a hospital, ensconced in a special suite. His portrait hung in almost every shop, and as his health declined, billboards proclaimed "Long live the king," signaling widespread anxiety about a future without him. In response, he openly fretted about the people feeling so insecure. Thais came to see this Buddhist king as a father figure wholly dedicated to their welfare, and as the embodiment of stability in a country where political leadership rose and fell through decades of military coups. His death ends a reign of 70 years and 126 days, one that few monarchs have matched for longevity. Queen Elizabeth II, by comparison, has ruled Britain for more than 64 years, having surpassed Queen Victoria's mark in 2015. With King Bhumibol's death, she becomes the world's longest reigning monarch. King Bhumibol, pronounced Pon, was an accidental monarch, thrust onto the throne at 18 by the violent death of his older brother in 1946. He fully embraced the role of national patriarch, upholding Thailand's traditions of hierarchy, deference, and loyalty. Western stereotypes of his country irked him. He disdained the Broadway musical The King and I, with its roots in his grandfather's court, and, like his stern father, he was quick to chastise his fellow Thais when he saw the need. In the king's own book The Story of Thongda Eng, 2002, about a street dog he had adopted, the message "there was always a message" in his writings was that affluent Thais should stop buying expensive foreign breeds when there were so many local strays to save. The book was a Thai bestseller. If he was a people's king, Bhumibol was a quiet and somewhat aloof one. He was a man of sober, serious mien, often isolated in his palaces, protected by the most stringent of lèse-majesté laws, which effectively prevent almost any public discussion of the royal family. But he had a worldly bent. Born in Cambridge, Massachusetts, where his father was a student at Harvard, he was educated in Switzerland, spoke impeccable English and French, composed music, played jazz on the clarinet and saxophone, wrote, painted, took up photography and spent hours in a greenhouse at his Chitralada palace in Bangkok. Once he had returned from Europe, however, he stayed put, never interested in a jet-set life. He stopped traveling abroad, saying there was too much to do at home. He was content to trudge through croplands in distant provinces in an open-neck shirt and sport coat, tending to the many development projects he encouraged and oversaw: milk pasteurizing plants, dams that watered rice fields, factories that recycled sugarcane stalks and water hyacinths into fuel, and countless others. In a political crisis, Thais admired him for his shrewd sense of when to intervene, sometimes with only a gesture to defuse it, even though he had only a limited constitutional role and no direct political power. "We are fighting in our own house," he scolded two warring politicians he had summoned to sit abjectly at his feet in 1992. "It is useless to live on burned ruins." 11 years earlier, he had aborted a coup by simply inviting the besieged Prime Minister, Prem Tinsulananda Ananda, to stay at a royal palace with the king and queen. Thailand was transformed during his reign, moving from a mostly agricultural economy to a modern one of industry and commerce and a growing middle class. He presided over an expansion of democratic processes, though it was halting. He witnessed a dozen successful military coups and several attempted uprisings, and in his last years, his health failing, he appeared powerless to stem sometimes violent demonstrations, offering only vague appeals for unity and giving royal endorsement to two coups. Meanwhile, a strain of republicanism emerged as the country broke into two camps. On one side, the establishment, with the palace at its core; on the other, the disenfranchised, whose demand for a political voice threatened the traditional order. To being Tamga as a tour guide in Thailand when revered king dies. Walailak, Thailand. Sitting on the beach overlooking Walailak Bay, right after the sun had set, I had the uncomfortable realization that I was the first person around me to find out the revered Thai king had died after 7 decades on the throne. Business in the southern hippie resort town was usual. Beers were clinking, selfie sticks were out, a couple had volleying a soccer ball 20-40 times and filming it with their GoPro. Finally let it drop, laughing. Kids screamed. The USA Today alert alert on my smartphone was the first about the king's death. Then I got a notification in the Girls Love Travel Facebook group, a private 100,000 person community of female travelers. The Thai king just died. This is a big deal. Remember to be respectful. Wear black or white tomorrow, someone else commented. Waiters kept buzzing about. The tourist beachfront remained unchanged. Kids kept screaming. Next I saw an updated travel alert from the British Foreign Office, also posted on Facebook. Following the official announcement of the death of His Majesty King Bhumibol Adulyadej, there is now an official period of mourning of 1 year from October 14, 2016. You should respect the feelings and sensitivities of the Thai people at this time. Access to entertainment, including restaurants, bars, and shopping areas may be restricted. Indications that something was different were subtle at first. Many Thai people I saw most in the tourist industry in this major rock climbing destination known for its picturesque limestone cliffs looked dazed, reading their smartphones and tablets between customers, or watching the black and white dedication to their leader on TV as tourists obliviously ate their coconut curries and fresh grilled fish. Then I stopped to ask, and the tears came. My emotion sentiment is just, my hair on my body just goes up when I hear this. He is my king, you know. Oh, man, said shopkeeper Giasakal Putikul in front of his smoothie shop, taking a deep breath and wiping tears from his bloodshot eyes. Praveen Pandey, another shopkeeper sitting outside on plastic chairs with Limputikul, agreed with the sentiment. Last night I see my friends post photos on Facebook with my king. I am happy to see his picture. Now I am so sad. He was sick. We have to accept and we don't know what will happen, he said. But my king is now up higher than the heaven. He on the top. And we just, points to ground. I just talked to my sister, points to smoothie and crepe shop. We always have a picture of the king or queen. This is a big deal. One that is an American, perhaps. I cannot fully understand. As travelers, it's our responsibility to be sensitive to major events. We should care. We should ask questions. And we should do everything in our power to remember that regardless of the travel hiccups this may cause, we are guests in someone's home. And now that person is mourning. This isn't about us. So tomorrow I'll wear black. I'll queue up for my ferry. I won't be mad if it's cancelled. And I'll make a concerted effort to show my respect and offer my condolences, even if they are not asked for. I'd only hope for the same. Bhumibol was seen as a unifying force in the country, and truly revered by the people of Thailand. Thailand's King Bhumibol Adulyadej died at Bangkok's Siriraj Hospital Thursday, the palace has announced. He was 88. His reign lasted 70 years, making him the world's longest-serving monarch. During that time he was seen as a unifying force in the country, and truly revered by the people of Thailand. The palace announced that the king died peacefully at 3:53 p.m. local time. Even though the board of doctors has closely monitored and treated him to the best of its abilities, the king's condition never improved but deteriorated until Thursday, the palace said. Junta leader Prayuth Chan-ocha announced that Crown Prince Vajiralongkorn will be the new monarch in accordance with the constitution, Associated Press reports. Government officials will observe a 1-year mourning period, he said, adding that all government events would be cancelled for 1 month. He was a king that was loved and adored by all. The reign of the king has ended and his kindness cannot be found anywhere else, Prayuth said. Outside the hospital somber crowds trickled through the gates with tears wet on their cheeks. Some milled around as if waiting for something else to happen. I am very sad. I wanted the king to stay longer. 64-year-old Wasina Fukam tells Time as she blinks back tears. Since I was born, my parents always had a picture of the king in our house. I have prayed to him every day. On Sunday, the palace announced Bhumibol was in an unstable condition following hemodialysis treatment, used to treat kidney failure. On Wednesday, the palace said the king had received dialysis treatment but there were problems with his kidneys and liver. Shortly before the palace's announcement on Wednesday, senior members of the royal family, including the Crown Prince Vajiralongkorn and Princess Sirindhorn, reportedly visited the hospital. Prayuth also flew back to the Thai capital Wednesday, cutting short an official appointment in the neighboring province of Chonburi for an audience with the Crown Prince. I heard there were many rumors on social media so I came here to find out the truth, says 24-year-old teacher Pray. I am speechless. I cannot describe how I feel now. As mourners left the hospital grounds, the surrounding sidewalks became full with the grief-stricken, but the mood was calmer than it had been over the past week, when the nation had waited on tenterhooks for news of the king. As Bhumibol's health had declined in recent years, the subject of succession has become increasingly sensitive. His only living son, Vajiralongkorn, is poised to assume the throne, but the country's broadly applied lèse majesté law, which prevents anyone from defaming or insulting members of the royal family, means that discussion of the monarch's health in the line of succession is heavily curtailed. In the days leading up to his death, Thais gathered at temples and held vigil outside the hospital offering wishes of good health. Many had donned pink shirts to express their hopes of health for the king. The color first became associated with the king a few years ago when an astrologer said it would promote his well-being. In recent days, messages have been shared on social media urging Thais to wear pink. The king has spent much of the past year at Bangkok's Siriraj hospital. Since 2009, he had been in and out of hospital for a variety of ailments, most recently for a chest infection and hydrocephalus, or water on the brain. Thais mourn death of revered King Bhumibol Adulyadej. The people of Thailand are mourning the death of King Bhumibol Adulyadej, the world's longest reigning monarch, who died on Thursday aged 88. An emotional crowd held a late-night vigil in Bangkok, and black-clad crowds are now lining the streets. The king's body will be taken to the city's Emerald Temple later on Friday. The official mourning will last a year. Crown Prince Vajiralongkorn is expected to be the new monarch, but has asked for a delay in succession. The cabinet has declared Friday a government holiday, and flags are to fly at half-mast for the next 30 days. The government has also asked for people to wear black and avoid joyful events during this period. News websites have turned their pages black and white, while tributes have been paid by leaders around the world. One person in Bangkok told the Associated Press, "There is no word to explain my feeling right now. I lost one of the most important people in my life. I feel like I haven't done enough for him. I should have done more," said Galyani. Thousands of mourners are filling the streets of Bangkok to await the king's funeral procession. His body will be moved from Siriraj Hospital to the Grand Palace on Friday afternoon. The crown prince will conduct the bathing ceremony of the king's body, a traditional Thai Buddhist funeral rite, on Friday evening, said palace officials. King Bhumibol was seen as a stabilizing figure in a country hit by cycles of political turmoil and coups. He was widely respected across Thailand, and thought of by many as semi-divine. He earned the devotion of Thais for his efforts to help the rural poor, such as agricultural development projects and works of charity. The king had been ill for a long time. When news of his death was announced on Thursday evening, many in the large crowds outside the hospital where he died broke down. Jonah Fisher in Bangkok says the king was a national father figure, a beacon of stability in a divided and worried country. A more uncertain era has begun, he adds. The succession process initially appeared straightforward, but is now likely to take longer to be clarified, says our correspondent. The prince has said he will not formally take the crown immediately as he needs time to mourn his father's death. The king's death comes as Thailand remains under military rule following the coup in 2014. The country has suffered from political violence and upheaval over the past decade, as well as a long-running Muslim separatist insurgency in the southern provinces which sees regular small-scale bomb attacks. Though a constitutional monarch with limited official powers, many Thais looked to King Bhumibol to intervene in times of high tension. He was seen as a unifying and calming influence through numerous coups and 20 constitutions. However, his critics argued he had endorsed military takeovers and at times had failed to speak out against human rights abuses. Here's challenge. The crown prince, who is 64, is much less well known to Thais and has not attained his father's widespread popularity. He spends much of his time overseas, especially in Germany. Profile: Crown Prince Vajiralongkorn. Most ordinary Thais know only a few details about Crown Prince Vajiralongkorn. Strict lèse majesté laws protect the most senior members of Thailand's royal family from insult or threat. Public discussion of the succession can be punishable by lengthy jail terms. Given the pivotal role the king has played in maintaining the balance of power in Thailand's volatile political environment, the succession will be a formidable challenge for the government, says the Jonathan Head in Bangkok.